Yo, what's good? Amateur Lore here, and we're back with another video. This time we're taking a look at some college football teams who almost made it to the college football playoffs. These videos take a while to make, so a like and a sub would be pimp. Before we jump into the video, we're going to spin a wheel full of all the names of the people who subbed and commented their favorite team on the last couple of videos. So good luck, and don't worry, if you didn't win this time, we'll be doing another giveaway real soon. Alright, so congrats Reed Bulldog 15, Sam Zilstra 7764, and GX Ruse. Check your original message you left commenting your favorite team. I replied back so we can figure out how to get your mini helmet. Bet, so with all that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. Alright, so I'm breaking my own rule that I have for making these videos. I really don't like to cover any teams from the 2020 season because that shit was just weird and overall a bust. But you know what, today I decided to change that up. Mostly because I've really wanted to talk about Northwestern since I've created this channel. As y'all should already know, I love showing love and giving flowers to some of the more underappreciated college football programs. So me not covering the Wildcats up to this point is just not a good look on my part. And while I juggled with choosing between their 1995 season or their 2015 one, I decided in the end to go with the 2021 because there's more highlights to show y'all. And regardless of how much the year 2020 sucked, Northwestern was really in the thick of things until the very last week. So going back to the year 2020, looking through some of the Big Ten preseason predictions, would it be a shock to anyone that Northwestern was expected to finish in the bottom half of the Big Ten? And when looking at their stats and overall record from the season before, it kind of makes sense. They only won 3 games and went 1-8 in Big Ten play. And when you add on top of it the unknown coming into this season from the pandemic, for all intents and purposes, Northwestern should be ass this season. But this is why my channel exists, because when teams like the Wildcats are supposed to stink it up and instead they pull out one of their best seasons in recent program history, it makes for perfect cinema. However, this is no movie, and the dudes making moves on this Northwestern football team were not actors. They were soldiers gearing up for the war that is the college football season. So let's take a look at some of the troops a part of this 2020 Northwestern football team. Leading the program in his 15th year up to that point, we got a guy who really knew how to keep the locker room under control. Actually, after further review, I take that statement back. Pat Fitzgerald. And I know he got into some trouble towards the end of his career at Northwestern, but he was still a pretty good coach for them. Riding the subway over to the quarterback position, we have Peyton Ramsey, who'd passed for 1,733 yards with 12 touchdowns. And I know those stats are underwhelming, but remember, it was 2020. And same goes for the running back position, because the team lead was Cam Porter Jr. with 333 rushing yards and only 5 touchdowns. Rounding out the key offensive figures, at wide receiver we have, to be honest, I don't even think a month of Rosetta Stone would help me pronounce that name, so I'm just going to put it up. Shout out to you. He finished with 508 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. And before we move on, I want to shout out the lockdown ball hawks on defense, Brandon Joseph and Greg Newsome II. They were tearing it up all year. Opening up the 2020 season near the end of the month of October, which just saying that out loud sounds absolutely wild. And real quick, man, I just want to say the fact that football was played this year at all is kind of crazy. So big shout out to all the players, staff, refs, and coaches that made this season possible. I know they had to be working overtime and doing the most to be ready on game day. And this might be 5 years late, but thank you. Alright, so Northwestern would start the year with the conference matchup versus the Maryland Terps. And to keep it a vanilla bean with you guys, this game wasn't much of a contest, as the Wildcats would dominate the Terps winning 43-3. Quarterback Peyton Ramsey would manage the game with a level of efficiency that Greg McElroy would be jealous of, passing for 212 yards and tossing 1 touchdown. The offense was solid this game, but the real standout from this match was the other side of the ball. Northwestern's defense played out of their mind, only allowing Maryland to put up 207 yards of offense compared to their 537, and would also force 4 total turnovers, with 3 of them being interceptions. Great win to open the season up, and definitely a good momentum builder. And it was all well needed, because next up on the slate was a road game versus the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I don't care that almost no one was in the crowd. Going to Kinnick Stadium is still one of the more tougher places to play, so the Wildcats would need to bring their A game.
Petrus with Tyler Goodson to his left in the shotgun. Wants the back right pylon. Climbing the ladder, hauling it in. It's Beck's Notre Dame to score a lot. Draw play right up the middle. Goodson at the goal line. He's in for a at Kinnick, and to be a part of the wave as Ramsey is out of the pocket. He's going to run for a first down and break some tackles and get all the way inside. And they'll run it with jet sweep action here, and they'll get the touchdown. Jesse Brown, touchdown! Tonight on ESPN and ABC, respectively. Back to the offense. Spencer Petrus off play action. He'll throw one over the middle, and that's intercepted. Petrus is picked by Brandon. Spivak at fullback. Here's Brown at the goal line, reaches it across, and that is a Northwestern touchdown. Iowa rushes 4 on 3rd and 13. Still they get through to Ramsey and flush him out of the pocket. He lobs one down the sideline, and he throws a pick to Jack Kerner. 4-man rush. Petrus. That's intercepted. Another one for Brandon Joseph. 10 kicker of the year last season. Hoping to get a chance. Petrus. Tipped ball intercepted. Right to Blake Gallagher. He will take a knee, and it'll be victory formation.
Northwestern versus the Iowa Hawkeyes started off looking like Iowa was going to blow the Wildcats out of the water, taking a 17-0 lead early. And I mean, come on, I know Northwestern is a cool football program, I love them. But they're not the type of team that comes back from being down 17 often. And on the flip side, Iowa is a team who plays solid all-around football, so when they take an early lead like this, it's almost expected that they win. Major credit to Northwestern though, because after getting punched in the mouth, they would respond like a champion, putting together 2 scoring drives to cut their deficit down to 3 going into halftime, as the score would be Northwestern 14 to Iowa's 20. The rest of the game would look like early 2000s Big Ten football, just defense and punts, which that style of football 99% of the time would most likely favor the Iowa Hawkeyes, but not today, as the Wildcats would score a tutty with 6 minutes left in the third quarter, putting them up 21-20, and from there neither team would be able to muster any more points. Iowa would have many attempts to take the lead, but every time they would put together a drive or have good field position, the Wildcats defense would make huge plays, securing the win on a pick to end the game 21-20. Now sitting at 2-0, the Wildcats were following up their tough road game with a matchup back at home against the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and this game was just like the Hawkeyes one. Northwestern would see themselves down going into halftime 13-7, but would come out and retake control of the game, scoring a touchdown in both the third and fourth quarter. And while the offense was grinding it out, the defense wouldn't fall too far behind, holding the Cornhuskers to 0 second half points and forcing 2 turnovers overall. I don't know why I forgot to mention this earlier in the video, but this Northwestern defense, as I'm sure most of you could already tell, was elite, only allowing 15.9 points per game, which was 5th best in the entire country. After taking down Nebraska, the Wildcats would jump into the top 25 for the first time all season, coming in at the 23rd spot. And since they were now ranked, teams were going to be giving Northwestern just a little bit more attention during practice than they usually would. And next up for the Cats was the Purdue Boilermakers. This game was extremely Big Ten, as the Wildcats would play solid up front and dominate the time of possession, having the ball for nearly 10 minutes longer than Purdue. All recipes for a win, but I think what really put Northwestern over the top to help them take down the Boilermakers was quarterback Peyton Ramsey having one of his better games of the season, passing for 212 yards with 3 touchdowns. And with how good the Wildcats defense was this year, when Ramsey was playing like this from the pocket, it was extremely tough to take down this Northwestern squad, as they would defeat Purdue 27-20. Northwestern was now sitting at 4-0 and would move up in the latest polls to the 19th spot. This season so far was going incredible for the Wildcats, but there was no time to enjoy the fruits of their labor, as right after their big win against the Boilermakers was a home game against the 10th ranked Wisconsin Badgers. Man, I wish this game would have happened this exact same way any other year. I would have loved to see Northwestern hosting a top 10 team while they were ranked. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. But regardless of the crowd, if the Wildcats could catch a W against Wisconsin, they'd be sitting really nice in the CFP ranking and have a legit shot with a roadmap to make it to the college football playoffs. But first, take down the 10th ranked Wisconsin Badgers at home.
Just couldn't overcome the quarterback play. Wisconsin brings pressure. Ramsey rolls to his right and fires. It is not be happy with the officiating here through the first 4 minutes. First and goal from the 2. Ramsey has an open man and plays through the air. Rochette lost the football after he got collared behind the line of scrimmage in the one. They go to some trickery. This is going to be a pass from Riley Lees. Has a man open and down to the goal up in front of Isaiah Bowser. The ball's out, and it's a touchback. It's a fumble and a recovery by Wisconsin. If anybody returned it, who had a 100-yard career rushing game. Mertz, good fake, has a man free, and it is caught, and it is a touchdown. Played very well. Joe Rudolph, deflected pass, and another turnover. Ramsey 15 out of 19. Both of them short throws. This one's a long throw. And here comes a blitz, and Mertz gets taken down. Mertz fires into traffic, battle for the ball. They think it's an interception on the Northwestern sideline, and it is. Greg Newsome, career interception for the junior from Chicago.
If you're a diehard Big Ten West lover, then this game was definitely an all-time classic. Northwestern would have set the 10th ranked Wisconsin Badgers at home 17-7. And Wildcat fans, let me know down below in the comments, where does this win rank all-time for big wins in program history? Northwestern's defense would play lights out this game, making future Gator Graham Mertz look like he didn't belong in the Big Ten West, as he would throw 3 interceptions and only go 23 of 41 from the pocket. Birdie looked like a deer in headlights all game long, and while 3 picks is nice, the defense wasn't done with the turnovers. They would add 2 fumble recoveries, putting their total on the game at 5. And while the defense was playing out of their mind, the offense would feed off that energy, scoring when the opportunity would present itself. And before I move on, major shout out to quarterback Peyton Ramsey. He did his job by not doing too much and passing for 2 touchdowns. And in a big game like this, that's all you can ask for. Northwestern was now sitting at 5-0 and will be ranked in the latest polls at the 8th spot in the country, which was their highest ranking since the 1995 season. And now that I'm eyeing that 1995 college football season, I might have to cover it. Might. At first when I was making this video, calling Northwestern a playoff team really sounded like a stretch, but the further we get into this section, I hope y'all can see how close they actually were. And at this point in the season, Northwestern was literally a couple of games from making it to the CFP. All they had to do was win their last couple of remaining games and make it to the Big Ten championship game. And once they were there, anything could happen. But first, the Wildcats had to take care of business on the road at Michigan State and Minnesota, and then a home game versus Illinois to finish up the regular season. Could Northwestern keep this historical season going by going undefeated during this stretch?
This is a well-rested Spartans team. They didn't play last week because of COVID. This is a deep shot for Lombardi. He hits his receiver in stride. It is Jalen Naylor.
Not sure I love this call here. 4th down and 4.
Ramsey throws to the outside, and that's intercepted. There's a penalty flag down, picked off by Shakur Brown. Stiff arm gets inside the 15, down to the 10-0 as we start the second quarter. They've got a 3rd down and 5 from the 15 of Northwestern to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown.
Let's try to get something going there instead of just a sideline.
Here's a play-action pass. Ramsey got rid of it. Has a man. It is caught. Big defensive lineman comes in to play fullback. He's number 93. It's a play fake. Ramsey keeps, and he saunters in.
You're down 4.
Started the 4th quarter. Ramsey over the middle. Has it.
In top of the screen up there.
Direct snap. And it's going to be a touchdown. Flushed out Ramsey. Trying to keep it going on this drive, and it's underthrown and nearly picked off. Or is it? It is intercepted for the lead.
Northwestern getting a guy on the field here late.
And it knuckles through. It is good.
Some magic up their sleeve.
RCB is going to lateral it back. Ball's on the turf. It's going to roll into the end zone, and Michigan State is going to cover it up.
This season. Ramsey back under center. He'll give it to Porter on a 3rd and 1. And Porter has a Northwestern 1st down and more. Cam Porter breaking into Illinois. Western from the 2 to kick off this second quarter, and Peyton Ramsey will throw it and complete it first.
From that view, I didn't see what they saw.
So 1st and goal, and Porter will walk it in times for 224 yards. 3rd and 5, another direct snap, and the true freshman Porter has a 1st down and a touchdown.
Their chance for the playoffs really got hurt with that loss to Michigan State.
4th down, you know they're going to go for it, and Evan Hull breaks free, and Evan Hull is home free. A 4th down conversion in 5 tries for Northwestern, and this one goes for 6.
Northwestern would go 1-1 through this stretch, with their game versus Minnesota getting canceled for obvious reasons. Starting off with the Wildcats game versus Michigan State, the Spartans would jump out to an early lead on the Wildcats, scoring twice in the 1st quarter, and again early in the 2nd to go up 17-0. Northwestern would weather the storm though, managing to kick 2 field goals before halftime, putting the score at 17-6. The Wildcats would roar out of halftime, scoring twice to give them the lead by 3 early into the 4th quarter. This should have been the point where Northwestern does what they did all season and grind out this win. But uncharacteristically, the Wildcats would lose a turnover battle this game, turning it over 4 times, with one of them coming late into the 4th quarter on a key drive when the game was tied, leading to Sparty kicking the game-winning field goal that would eventually lead to Michigan State winning the game in the end 29-20. While this loss was extremely tough for Northwestern, it wasn't the end of the world. And I know this loss must have stung for a while because their game that was scheduled the following week would get canceled due to reasons. So the Wildcats had to let that loss sink in for a good minute. And it was evident that them boys wanted to get back on the gridiron, because when they would match up in their final regular season game of the season, they would put belt to ass on the Illini, winning easily 28-10, putting their record on the season at 6-1 and their ranking in the latest AP polls at the 14th spot in the country. Now, while it was going to be a long shot for Northwestern to make it to the college football playoffs, and when I say long shot, I mean an extremely long shot, but there was still like a chance, a little chance, just enough of a chance that somebody like me would throw money on it. But anyway, the Wildcats have been so good this season, they earned a trip to the Big Ten championship game, where they would be facing off against the Big Ten powerhouse, the 4th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. This Ohio State football team was loaded with NFL talent on every single level, and Northwestern hadn't really faced any beasts like this Buckeye squad yet this season. This game was going to be a real David versus Goliath type of matchup, but nobody expected the Wildcats to make it this far anyway. so they really had nothing to lose. They were playing with house money, and a team playing with house money is a very dangerous team.
Remember, Olave is out. Here's Fields looking for the first down, steps up in the pocket, in trouble, wants to run it, has the first and more as he dives to the 9-yard line. Fields under pressure. Fields scrambling. Fields taken down at the 25. Cameron 43. And Ramsey wants to run it, looking for the first down, has it and more. Ramsey with a burst. Ramsey looking. Ramsey all the way down to the angle, and it's first and goal. Here's the Wildcat formation. Porter, touchdown Northwestern. They look out of sync to start this game. 3rd and 8. Incomplete. And they'll punt it. Zeke out of the gun. Here's Ramsey. Throws. Caught. And a first down. Got it up. And perfect. And back in at running back. Here's Justin Fields. Sideline. Nice throw. And Garrett. Justin Fields. Steps into his throw. End zone. Oh my goodness. Is that an interception? Brandon Joseph with his 6th interception of the season. Pat Ramsey in the end zone. On the ground. Fields rolls out. And intercepted. Wow. The deep man, they give it to him. He breaks it back. Trey Sermon. Touchdown. The length of the field. 2nd and 5. Ramsey again to throw. Breaks a tackle. Ramsey trying to get out of dodge. And is that intercepted? At the 3. Here's the pitch. Sermon to the corner. Touchdown Buckeyes. Peyton Ramsey needs to make a play over the middle. On and on. Incomplete. Rain had that one knocked out of his hands by Lathan Ransom.
No cap, back in 2020, I remember watching this game on Stream East, and for a while I really believed Northwestern was going to pull off this win. Northwestern was actually playing some elite defense early, keeping this loaded Ohio State Buckeyes offense out of the end zone for the entire first half, which is extremely impressive. And even more impressively, Northwestern was actually up going into halftime 10-6. We all saw the highlights though, so we know the second half wasn't anywhere near as epic as the first for Northwestern, as the Wildcat offense couldn't punch it into the end zone, and while the defense did everything they could, eventually this Ohio State front would be just too much, evident by running back Trey Sermon's 331 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. That would give Ohio State the edge, taking down Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game 22-10. I know it would have been super lit to see Northwestern make the playoffs, but damn, this 2020 squad was really close, and while it does suck to lose, I have good news. Northwestern would finish out this season taking down Auburn in the Verbo Citrus Bowl, 35-19, putting their final record on the season at 7-2, and their final rankings in the polls at the 14th spot in the country. Considering all the bullshit this team and every other team had to deal with this year, it's amazing they were able to pull off this incredible feat. Leaving the state of Illinois, we head over to Kentucky for the next team up I'm sure some of you forgot almost made the college football playoff. The 2016 Louisville Cardinals. I was holding off on covering this team because for some reason I thought they were eliminated from playoff contention in like week 7. But I was extremely wrong, as this team was actually dancing with playoff contention the entire year, all the way up until the final weeks. So this 2016 Louisville squad had some momentum coming into this season, as in the previous 2 years, the Cardinals had won 9 games in 2014 and 8 in 2015, and would be starting this 2016 season ranked at the 19th spot in the country. And I'm sure a lot of that had to do with the unicorn they had behind center. But relax, we're not at that part of the video yet. Going back in time and looking through some of the 2016 ACC preseason predictions, it seems like Louisville was expected to be pretty good this year, but still fall behind the conference juggernauts, as they were placed 3rd behind Clemson and Florida State in the Atlantic Division of the ACC. And I guess that makes sense, at least Clemson being ranked ahead of them did, because they had the preseason ACC Player of the Year on their squad. But this Cardinal squad was still returning 18 starters, and at least should have been placed above Florida State if you ask me. But in the end, who really gives a damn? It's just preseason predictions. Speaking of returning 18 starters though, let's take a look at some of the kings possible for putting this amazing season together. Starting with head coach Bobby Petrino, who was in his 7th year up to that point coaching the Louisville Cardinals. But I have to mention, it wasn't all consecutive, as he would coach from 2003 to 2006, and then would coach for Arkansas for a little minute before coming back to Louisville in 2014, where he coached until 2018. Scrambling over to the quarterback position, this squad had a generational talent under center in Lamar Jackson, who would pass for 3,543 yards with 30 touchdowns. But we're not done yet. He would also add 1,571 yards on the ground with 21 touchdowns. With stats like this, it's no wonder why the Heisman was as good as his this year. Sliding over to the team's running back room, the team's actual running back, Brandon Radcliffe, wouldn't have Lamar Jackson numbers, but they were still very respectable, rushing for 903 yards with 6 touchdowns. And finally, to round out the offense, wide receiver James Quick, who would catch 45 passes for 769 yards and 6 touchdowns. Before we move on, I have to shout out current Green Bay Packers defensive back Jair Alexander, who would have 5 picks this season, and before making this video, I had no idea this stud went to Louisville, so I'm glad that I learned that. Alright, so to open up the season, the 19th ranked Louisville Cardinals will begin their journey to the college football playoffs, hopefully with the little tune-up game against Charlotte. This matchup was all cards, so there really isn't much to speak of besides Lamar Jackson's monster performance. He would pass for 6 touchdowns and rush for another 2, totaling 8 to start the year. And this goes without saying, Louisville would win 70-14. And if you thought the ass whoopings Louisville was handing out was limited to low-level schools, you'd be wrong, as they would smash Syracuse on the road 62-28 on a Friday. And of course Lamar Jackson would go off this game as well, passing for 411 yards with a touchdown and rushing for 199 yards with 5 touchdowns. Louisville was now sitting at 2-0 and would move up in the AP polls to the 10th spot, heading into a huge game versus second-ranked Florida State Seminoles. A top 10 conference matchup only 3 weeks into the season is rare, but it is what it is. Both teams had the same amount of prep, and if either one of these ACC schools wanted to have a legit chance at making the college football playoffs, then this week 3 matchup was going to be a humongous resume booster. One thing Louisville had going for them was that they were hosting the second-ranked Florida State Seminoles at home. And also College Game Day would be there, making this the game of the week, as well as it being College Game Day's first time visiting Louisville. The campus was going to be rocking all week, and while yes, there was going to be nerves for some of the players, I'm sure they felt comfort knowing they were walking into a battlefield surrounded by hundreds of thousands of their supporters.
This is the toughest pick I've ever had to make. It's between my school, where I played and coached Florida State, and Louisville, who gave me the first opportunity to be a head coach after 11 years as assistant. It's between my heart and my head. I'm going with the head. Give me that Cardinal.
In this hyped environment. Again, deep balls, that was an uncharacteristic miss. So Jackson keeps it, play action, 2nd and 10. High shot delivered, and Smith has it. Jalen Smith bangs down, stays for the end zone. Keeper, Jackson, cuts back, scores! Jackson keeps it. Gets blocks on the edge. Jackson navigates it for his 2nd touchdown. Just get the snap away. Francois fires. Slant, touchdown. Auden Tate. Over the years and going to make hundreds more before he's done. Look at the ball fake there. Jackson rolling out. Gets a block on the edge and leaps out of it. Barreling straight ahead is Jeremy Smith. Touchdown, Louisville. Winston rolling. The fumble. Bad exchange. Louisville's got it. Jair Alexander came off the huge play here. And Jackson from the pocket flips it over the middle there, and the Noles go 3 and out on that crucial possession. Tyler gets a good boot away with the wind at his back and chases Alexander back deep, but he's got some running room. Look out into the secondary, off and running, and Louisville with a special teams touchdown. Right up in the conversation of the top teams in the country after this performance here. Jackson, look out! Makes a cut. Why not spin in for another touchdown? Unbelievable. He has seized this national stage and made a strong, early Heisman statement.
You know how everybody has a kind of a Heisman play that you see the highlights over and over and over again?
Man, Florida State versus Louisville was just one of those games. No disrespect to the Seminoles, but as soon as they stepped into KFC Stadium or whatever the hell it was called at the time, they stood zero chance. Louisville would, what's the word I want to use to describe this game? Embarrassed the Florida State Seminoles, defeating them 63-20. Lamar played like an alien this game, passing for 216 yards with a toasty touchdown. But where Lamar L. Jackson really dominated this game was on the ground, rushing for a cool 146 yards with 4 touchdowns. I really wish there was more to speak of from this huge game, but we all saw the highlights. This game was pretty much over by halftime. Louisville was now sitting at 3-0 after that absolute destruction of the second-ranked Florida State Seminoles. The Cards would make a huge jump in the polls, moving from the 10th spot all the way up to the 3rd. Louisville had a huge game coming up in a couple weeks on the road at the 5th-ranked Clemson Tigers, but thankfully for them, they had just a little tune-up game before that. And trust me, if it was any other ACC school or a Power 5 team, I wouldn't call this game a tune-up, but it was against Marshall. And I love me some Randy Moss and Brian Leftwich as much as the next guy, but come on, this Louisville squad this year was different, and we're treating teams like Marshall as a little tune-up, being up 35-7 going into halftime and 52-7 by the end of the 3rd. Marshall would score a ton in garbage time, however, putting the final score at 59-28. And I sound like a broken record at this point, but Lamar Jackson would, who would have guessed it, put together another wonderful performance. This time more from the air though, tossing the pill for 417 yards with 5 touchdowns. Alright, with the game versus Marshall out of the way, it was time for another huge ACC game with major college football playoff implications. Lamar Jackson versus Shannon Sharp. I'm just fucking with you, Shannon Sharp. I still mess with you. I hope this statement doesn't age terribly. Let me do that again. Lamar Jackson versus Deshaun Tucker Watson. Two absolute stars at the quarterback position, and just like the game versus Florida State, College game day was going to be in the building, but this time the Louisville Cardinals are going to be the ones dealing with the hostile crowd, as few who travel to Death Valley make it out alive.
And silence some of the hype surrounding number 3 Louisville as they come calling against number 5 Clemson, a game with enormous impact on the looming playoff. Just got it away from the pocket. Jackson flows down, sack again. O.J. Scott is the back, but Jackson's going to throw on 3rd and down, takes a shot downfield, and the catch is made inside the 5. To run and throw. Instead it's Smith again, and he dives for a touchdown. Against the fast-flowing defense. Oh, Jackson wasn't expecting the snap there. It's loose. A scramble for the football. Again on both sides. Watson from the pocket, looks down the field to Deion Kane, and he collects it for a touchdown. Goldman bursting free, touchdown! Comes in motion again. This time it's Watson in the pocket. Shoots it downfield for Kane again, who makes a diving catch for a touchdown! On 1st and goal, Watson fires high. Touchdown, Scott! Of course, there was 123, but not much since then. On the slant, in and out of the hands of McLeod with a diving attempt. It's a pick. Then comes the defense, they can force a field goal attempt. Jackson over the middle, wide open. Jackson keeps it and gets around the corner, dancing free. He blocked, he was good in his earlier field goal attempt, and this one is knocked through, but again, fake to Gallman, and Watson delivers over the middle, and the catch made by Leggett, lost the ball. A turnover. Chucky Williams, who earlier made the pick in this quarter's got the football. He's still running. Lead 7 on 3rd down. Here comes the pressure again. Jackson flips it complete, and then Smith and the back rumbling deep. Jackson straight back from the pocket. Good protection. Delivers a strike down. Jackson deeper and scored. Watson looking to throw. Thrown downfield, and it's intercepted. They test. 3 turnovers tonight. 2 picks and a forced fumble. Now Jackson with the lead here. Thought about taking a deep shot, and now escapes, and look out. The sprinter in space. A little. He's trying to. No pitch. Gets the edge, and scores standing up. And out. So Dabo Swinney trying to get his offense collected here. Still a 1-possession game. Once up 18, now down 8. Scott again has some room. Artavis Scott dances, cuts it back, and is in the clear. Artavis Scott just the kicker to beat. And the angles him out of bounds, but Watson keeps it, pitches it across the middle. Touchdown, Williams! Change already. 12 men on the field for some confusion. A flag comes in, a free play. Watson fires back. Catches Leggett open. Leggett rumbling free down inside the 10, scores! Situation. Jackson from the pocket delivers a short pass. It's a 1st down. 2nd and 1. Option keeper still dancing in the clear. Jackson now shows the power. Man. Jackson rips a quick throw and a catch again by Pope alive. Jackson flips it short, quick, works free, fights, spins out of bounds, did not get there. Did not get there, came up a yard short.
Quick's trying to get to that 1st down marker, comes well short.
Did he head it back inside there?
Louisville vs. Clemson would be one of the best games from the 2016 college football season. This matchup started off with both high-flying offenses being unable to crack the end zone in the 1st quarter, but Louisville would break the ice, scoring early into the 2nd to go up 7-0. Clemson would storm back ferociously, scoring 4 touchdowns to close out the 2nd quarter, going up 28-10 going into halftime. Clemson had a chance to put this game away early as they started the 2nd half with the ball, but the Louisville defense would make a huge play, picking off Deshaun Watson and turning that turnover into points. And from there, Louisville would continue to put points on the board, scoring 26 straight points to go up on the Clemson Tigers 36-28. Just when the Cards looked like they had taken full control of this game, Deshaun Diddy would lead Clemson on 2 clutch scoring drives to retake control of this game in the lead 42-36. Lamar would drive Louisville down the field, getting the Cardinals inside of the red zone, putting themselves into a position to possibly pull off the huge win on the road. And it would all come down to a 4th and 12, where Lamar would step back in the pocket, passing the ball to James Quick, where he would be marked 1 yard short, putting it into the game 42-36. Before we move on, I have to shout out both of these star quarterbacks, as Lamar would pass for 295 yards with 5 touchdowns, as well as rushing for 162 yards with 2 touchdowns on 31 damn carries. NFL backs don't even have this type of workload. And Deshaun Weinstein, who'd pass for 306 yards with 5 touchdowns. After the tough loss, Louisville would be sitting at 4-1 and move back in the polls only 4 spots to the 7th spot, which wasn't too bad at all. And if Louisville could run the table and win the remainder of their games, which I'm sure they'd be favored in majority of, then they would have a high chance of making the college football playoff, even without winning their conference, because since they shared the division with Clemson, they would need them to lose not once but 2 games, which just seemed highly unlikely. The Cardinals' matchup against Clemson was highly emotional, and Louisville would need to focus up and get their minds right because their next game on their schedule was against a very chippy Duke Blue Devils squad, led by future first-round NFL draft pick quarterback Daniel Jones. This game would start off ugly. Louisville would be able to move the ball but never really turning their drives into scores, as the Duke defense would bend all first half but never really break, as the Cardinals would only go up by 3 going into halftime as the score would be 10-7. Louisville would strike first in the second half on an 80-yard run from Jeremy Smith to give themselves a little breathing room, but that's the best they could manage, not being able to really pull away, although the opportunity did present itself a couple of times. Daniel Jones and Duke would respond back late into the 4th quarter, cutting the lead to 3 on a 20-yard touchdown pass, putting the score at 17-14. And even though it took nearly the entire game, Louisville would eventually wake up, icing the game with a 12-play, 80-yard drive to end the game, winning 24-14. A win is a win, but the Cards would need to step up their game if they wanted to keep themselves alive in the college football playoffs. And with a tough stretch of ACC games at home against NC State, back-to-back road games versus Virginia and Boston College, and then finally versus Wake Forest to end conference play, the Cardinals could not afford to slip up. And with already one loss, Louisville's only option was to go perfect through this stretch.
Quarterback draw. A step down the middle, Lamar Jackson. Touchdown. 4-man rush. And he is well protected. Long throw and in stride. It's Jalen Smith. Touchdown. Stood, 4th down and goal. Handoff at the goal line and across.
Goal. Benkert going to throw the fade. Touchdown, Camel. All kinds of time and a receiver for Virginia from the 4. Benkert pulls it, throws it. Donnie Dowling, touchdown. Benkert throws. It's good. Jackson going for the end zone. Touchdown. Jalen
and throw it equally well.
On the read option, Lamar Jackson keeps it. Away he goes. Lamar Jackson to the end zone. Touchdown.
The defense wrong.
Jackson dancing. He throws. Touchdown. He and his offensive coordinators do that extensively in the offseason. And there goes Lamar Jackson with more wizardry. Touchdown.
Flip to Louisville right here.
2nd down and 2. This goes straight up the middle with Radcliffe. Brandon Radcliffe into open space. And he cuts it outside for the touchdown. As Lamar Jackson will go play action. Jackson throws. Touchdown. Cole Higgins.
Pocket, and Kearns is supposed to be more of a pocket passer.
Kearns intercepted. Good night, sweetheart. Touchdown, Louisville.
The Cards would go a perfect 4-0 through this stretch of conference play, and while they would win every game, there was definitely a couple matchups that they almost slipped up in, but we'll talk about it when we get there, because in their first game during this stretch versus NC State, Louisville would put the beats on the Wolfpack, being up 44-0 going into halftime, eventually winning the game 54-13. Their next game, however, on the road versus the Virginia Cavaliers would be a lot more close, as going into halftime, Louisville would actually be down to Virginia 10-7. The Cavs would score first coming out of halftime, putting the pressure on the Cards, but they'd respond back with 2 quick touchdowns and a field goal to retake the lead at 24-17 halfway through the 4th quarter. Just when it looked like Louisville had the game in the bag, Virginia would go on a 14-play, 75-yard drive that would end in a touchdown, and the Cavs were going for the win, not the tie, as they would go for 2 and convert, putting the score at 25-24 with less than 2 minutes into the game. Lamar would have the ball in his hands, with the chance to keep Louisville's playoff hopes alive. He would just need to lead his team down the field in the final 2 minutes of the game. And I mean, we both saw the highlights and know he would get the job done, connecting on a 29-yard pass to Jalen Smith to win the game 32-25, and more importantly, keep the Cardinals season alive. After the tough win, Louisville would bounce back to form, blowing out the Boston College Eagles 52-7. And while against Wake Forest, the game would be close for the first 3 quarters, the Cardinals would eventually wake up, scoring 35 points in the 4th to win the game against Wake Forest 44-12. The Cards were now sitting at 9-1 and would be ranked at the 5th spot in the country with 2 games left on their schedule versus Houston and Kentucky. Now, I'm not saying Louisville would be a lock if they could win these last 2 games of the season, but the committee would definitely have their hands full and a tough time keeping them out if they could finish out the season with only 1 loss. First, a road game versus a red-hot Houston team. Handle them and then move on to rival week and hopefully, possibly, the playoffs.
Here we go. Malik Williams from the end zone is going to bring it out for Louisville. And Williams runs into his own man and fumbles the ball. With the fake on the jet sweep, and he'll hit his man in the flat toward the end zone. Catalan team. First down inside the 15. Fake it to Catalan. Ward. That one is tipped and caught on the Catalan. Touchdown.
That can score and erupt, so they're not out of this game by any stretch.
That one was backwards, I think, and they're going to throw the ball. And a perfect delivery to Chance Allen. Off to the races. Touchdown. Under center. They get it snapped quickly. Jackson on the move. He will lob one that's caught by Hicatini. Touchdown. 2nd and 4. Jackson with the play fake. Keeping it. The ball comes out. It's out in Houston. I thought they had it. And the Cougars, yeah, they do have it. It has been rough. And once again, and Jackson just heaved that one up. Now that is a possibility for grounding in the end zone and a safety. They're talking about it.
Intentional grounding on the offense. Because the penalty occurred in the end zone, the result of the play is a safety.
This scenario, and look at Lamar Jackson. I mean, what do you want me to do?
And that's going to do it. They've had a lot of great players in the history of this program. This is the winningest senior class in Houston football history.
Man, I don't know what the hell happened this game. Louisville just looked like they were not taking this Houston squad seriously at all, as from the jump the Cardinals would look out of whack, as the Cougars would be up going into halftime 31-0. It would take Louisville until the 3rd quarter to finally put some points on the board. And major shout out to this Houston defense because that's the only touchdown that would allow Lamar Jackson and the Cardinals to get, as Houston's defense would keep the Louisville offense out of the end zone for the rest of the game, winning 36-10. This loss was tough and would bring Louisville's record on the season to 9-2. And they're ranking in the AP polls to the 11th spot. Sadly, their playoff chances were out of the window, but there was still a lot left on the season to play for. As if the Cards could win their final game of the regular season during rivalry week against the Kentucky Wildcats, then most likely they'd receive a New Year's Six bowl game bid, which I know isn't the same as making it to the college football playoffs, but it's still pretty good. Could Louisville finish off their regular season with the win against their in-state rivals and punch their ticket to a New Year's Six bowl game? Or would the end of this season be one they'd like to forget?
Straight up the middle, Jackson, touchdown!
Round scheme to a run-based scheme.
Johnson under pressure. He wants to air it out on 1st down. Garrett Johnson. Touchdown, Kentucky, 75. Williams. Inside the 20, the 10-5. Boom. Trying to get outside. Shovels underneath. Hicatini, the tight end, touchdown.
Because that ball was in the stands. I don't disagree with you there.
This one is launched and caught by Johnson. 1st and goal, same play, same result. Jeremy
up some extra yardage for the 1st down.
He has a 100-yard receiving game. Jackson kept it himself. He fumbled the ball. And he did it again. Are you imitation?
Yeah. Just start tossing it around.
Jackson under pressure. Look how quick. Throws it 1.5 miles, but defenders back there, and Kentucky has the ball as the clock goes to 0-0. What an upset.